Hello, Radical Metal viewers. My name is Jesse Seipel, and I'm the host of Radical Metal. Today, I would like to introduce to you Maureen Nicholl. Maureen! She is a friend from 2017. My wife and I met her at Megadeth Boot Camp, where Anna and I got married. If you haven't seen pictures of that, maybe we can throw some up. Pop, 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 pop. Maureen was super cool, and we got along really well, and we have kind of been in touch here and there ever since. She lives in Baltimore, so she's not too far away. We have run into each other at Mastodon shows. Hello. On the waterfront in DC, which was awesome. And we have been in touch on Facebook here and there. We went to Slayer together up in Baltimore. She got me backstage at Slayer, which is super cool because she knows people. She is not only a bassist, musician, been in a number of bands. She's Beauty and the Bass on Instagram and TikTok, which is really fun to watch. So you should check her out there. But not only that, she is a model, and she also is an author, and she has a published novella, Into the Darkness, which I'm on like the last 5 pages of. I gotta finish it. It's amazing because I just had no idea, not only that she was a writer, but that she was a good writer. That was just awesome to find all that stuff out. And so we go over all that stuff, writing, we go over modeling, we go over playing bass, and we may sprinkle some personal stuff in there too. My wife wanted to catch up with her as well. I'm not sure how much that's going to stay in, as long as it's relevant and maybe and interesting to you all. We will keep it in. It was such a joy to talk to Maureen. We talked for 2 hours. So this may be a 2-parter. We don't know yet. Maybe we'll consolidate it into 1 part. Not sure. I'm excited. It was fun to rekindle the friendship with Maureen. We're going to hang out in DC later this month. You might wonder, hey, Jesse, how come you know so many cool people? I don't know. But I'm grateful I do. So I bring you Maureen Nicholl. I know you're going to love her, so check her out.
Oh, I could talk to you guys all day about all this other stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's definitely, this is exactly how I want a conversation to roll. It doesn't always happen that way.
Sure.
Then it relies on me to get it rolling, and I'm not always equipped to do it. So yeah. I'm glad that we have some good banter here.
Yeah.
But maybe back to the bass stuff. I feel bad because I didn't realize it. I see you on Facebook doing the bass stuff, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. And I just lost it again. What's your Instagram name?
Oh, now it's Beauty and the Bass.
Beauty and the Bass. Come on.
I love puns.
That's clever.
Thanks. Sometimes people will say, oh, like I'll meet someone and they're like, oh, what's your Instagram handle? And I'm like, Beauty and the Bass. I know it's corny, but
I think you should be proud of that. That's awesome.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's funny. We kind of, dare I say, we have that sort of in common. I do, not that I'm maybe I would be truly a Beauty and the Beast, but I do radical riffs sometimes. Not enough, but I've only done 3.
Do you still have your band?
We never broke up, but one of the other guitarists had a baby, and we just never got back together.
Babies are such a buzzkill.
Yeah, it kind of ruins everything. I think we're all fine with it though. My regret from that is we have some pretty good recordings, but I regret not doing a album. We had enough songs. We had more than enough songs. We recorded 4 of them, and we had probably 6 more. And I tried to get everybody on board to, hey, let's knock these other ones out.
Let's just finish it. Yeah.
I didn't have enough influence. And I get it because, well, at least with my friend Dorian, the other guitarist, having a baby, that just changes everything. But it's just really hard to get everybody together. So I kind of gave up on it. I had the our band's banner up here forever, and I just took it down the other day to put this up. I'm like,
and that's cool, but it's heartbreaking because, God, I've been through that experience like many times over now, you know, where you put a lot into a band and you even get some songs recorded and you're really excited about where it's going, but you know, it's like that group project having to rely on, and it's not even always that the other people aren't reliable. It's like, as you said, in your case, circumstances just change, but maybe, you know, maybe with a little more time down the line, Dorian will have some time to, you know, get back to it.
Dorian, if you're listening.
No pressure.
Well, I don't know if you've run into this issue, but like he is such a great guitarist, but every time we did try to get together and start to finish the job, but he'd always come with new riffs because he's like just super creative, and he always was on to the next thing.
That's great.
Which is awesome, but in my mind, I'm a doer, and I want to finish.
Right.
So in my mindset, hey, can we just shove that? Let's record it or keep it in the backlog, but let's finish this job so we have it for our. You know, my thought was a very convincing point, but maybe it wasn't.
No,
I was like, hey, we're gonna love to pull this out 10 years from now and be like, hey, we did that together.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And you need that balance. That's why, you know, the bands that work, it's like that you can be like, hey, this riff is really cool, and so is this new one, but let's finish this one, because I tend to be also scatterbrained ADHD, like, oh, this is cool, well, this one's cool too, and then I don't finish anything.
I think I probably used to be more like that, and then I'm like, now I'm super like project oriented, like, and I get uneasy if we don't complete the goals that we listed 3 months ago.
Right.
Which is I probably needed to compromise more in that way too. What's fun is doing the radical riffs, which, you know, I've only done a couple. I have a whole list of them that I want to do, but it reminds me of what you're doing, because you're not playing the entire song necessarily.
Yeah, apparently everyone's attention span is so short now that people only want to watch a small snippet. And you know, I'm guilty of that to some extent too. But a friend of mine who was advising us on, you know, so this whole thing with me playing video and making videos and putting them online started because previous band I was in, the drummer Amanda and we got our own practice space, and you know, we like jamming together, but and she had done her own videos prior to that as well, and you know, did pretty well with them. So we did our own little thing, and you know, when we were learning about it and putting it together, we learned that you really shouldn't have a video more than 15 seconds. Like the most successful ones are just very short. And I don't know if you've noticed this with yours, but when like TikTok or any of the platforms will show you the statistics, and they'll show like percentage of video watched or how many seconds watched. And I think for a lot of mine, it's like 4 or 5, you know, and even the ones that do well.
Yeah.
So it's, but that's how the format is now. Just the scrolling, you know, and again, I'm guilty of it too. I'll be scrolling and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then, okay, what else?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think the world is guilty of it. Yeah, it's a strange thing. You know, I'm trying to figure out what the balance is with like what it is I want to do versus what is palatable.
Sure.
You know, there's the tendency to be like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I think I'm mostly that way, but I also want people to dig it and people to watch it. You know, and I got a book. I haven't read it yet, but some YouTube book, how to be successful on YouTube, and yeah, I bet it has that in there. Hey, don't make it more than 15 seconds.
Right. And I will say with YouTube, for me at least, the like the TikTok format, like that, if I watch videos on there, like Instagram Reels, I find that I do only watch, short snippets. But with YouTube, especially if I'm watching like a bass video or a video of someone else playing, like I will watch the whole thing or almost the whole thing, and appreciate it but also it's like from the perspective of, I'm trying to learn something, or, I guess it depends on your audience. But I do feel like at least with YouTube, there's a little bit more of an audience base to have a longer video. But I don't know. I say that, but like, I don't know if that's true.
I mean, I really like long form too, if it's someone I'm interested in. Like
Sure.
James Hetfield being on Joe Rogan. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I did not see that.
It was years ago now, maybe 5 years ago, but I watched the whole thing end to end because I love Papa Het. And he's talking about being what do they call him? Not a bee maker, beekeeper.
A bee maker.
Probably only maybe.
I guess they make bees too.
I like bee maker.
Isn't that kind of inherent? Being a beekeeper, you got to make them too.
I didn't know he was a beekeeper. That's the kind of stuff that's cool, and I think that makes a podcast stand out. Like how you're, branching into different topics, because he can talk about and has talked about Metallica and the songs and certain performances countless times on other shows and interviews. And has he ever talked about his beekeeping? Like, probably not. And that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely fascinating to see that side of him, being
and
such
it's funny to just imagine this like metal musician, rock star, like with his bee in a little beekeeping outfit.
Not only that, he's in a beekeeper club.
Wow.
So he at the time, I think he's still there, I don't know, but Colorado, I think he lives in Colorado, or used to anyway. And yeah, he'd go to like some little hangout and hang out with his nerdy beekeeper buddies that were probably all, old retired men,
Right there, like, what? You're in a band, huh? Like,
oh, what do you play? Oh, you like the rock and roll? Oh yeah, I used to like rock and roll. I think that can be good, the long form. And I think if like a conversation's interesting enough, like I think what we're talking about this whole time is very like interesting. And so you hope that you have people watching that find that interesting too, and will watch the whole thing. But I'm trying to think mixing it up. Like the radical riffs are only like a minute.
I think that's cool too. Yeah, to have the having that your whole channel, to have some short videos and then some longer ones, just depending on what somebody's feeling or where they're at. Yeah.
Well, and either way, it's all really fun. I was going to ask you, did how TikTok went away for one day?
Yes.
Did that scare you if it were to go away for good?
Honestly, it's interesting because a lot of the people that I follow on there, you saw so many people posting videos where they were practically in tears. And I get it for some of them, especially with the really huge followings, because I don't have like a huge following, that it would be upsetting. I think for me, again, because I don't have a particularly big following, I'm just delighted like when anybody watches and then likes it or comments. I'm just like, this is great. I was a little bummed about it, but at that point too, I had started to post some of the TikTok or the videos I had made for TikTok onto like YouTube Shorts and do some Instagram Reels. It's definitely harder to get engagement on those other platforms. And I know a lot of people were moving like over to that one that was like in Chinese.
Oh, really? I didn't.
It
Don't
was
know
I
that.
like read something. It was,
Mhm.
but the interface was like in Chinese.
They're not even hiding it anymore.
Right, right. Yeah, so I remember thinking being bummed about it, but I was also like, you know what? I'll just keep posting on another platform and hope that works out. It's definitely, I think TikTok for musicians is such a useful tool for whatever reason. It's just like
Mhm.
so much easier to get engagement on there. So I'm definitely like, I'm relieved and I'm happy that they kept it around. But but yeah, I think if I had more to lose from it, like a bigger following or something, it would have been more stressful. And I would have been angry about it too.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling people. Like, I don't like it either. I don't like that China is getting in there and maybe influencing people in ways we don't want them to. I get that part, but I also, a lot of people have built their livelihood
Yes,
on that, and so to take that away really, really sucks. And as
just
someone who's
yes,
trying to be successful at this, I totally feel for him.
right, right. Just to
Because
have the
how
rug
hard it
pulled
is.
out from under you. That's a good point too, because it felt very quick that from the time I found out that they were actually, I know they had been like threatening for a while, but nobody actually thought it was going to happen. Um, so that's a very good point that, some people's livelihoods actually depended on that. And, and I don't know enough about like all of it to really give like an informed opinion on, TikTok and all the reasons for the ban. But I also feel like just like everything, can't they already like get our information? Like, I feel like everything is screwed now. You're like, like it's so other countries hack into things all the time, and like I feel like nothing is private anymore, and people put so much of their private information out there anyway. Like Facebook, wasn't Facebook already doing this like before TikTok? I mean,
Yeah, no,
obviously not China, but
yeah, I
still.
mean, but my Facebook profile, well, because I do this, is public. So if China wants to look at anything,
Exactly.
they can get it.
Also,
And
like
I mean,
I don't think anything I'm doing is like going to affect China, but
well, I think, I'm not informed either on this, but I think it's that, but it's also Chinese influence over like the youth, which some
yeah.
people claim. Actually, I'm also on Substack. I don't know if you're familiar with Substack. When I post these videos now, I just started doing it. I add that link.
Okay.
But I've been reading this guy who seems to be informed, but he on it. Shout out to my new friend David Swindle. But he was blaming China and TikTok for influencing the youth, like over Israel and Palestine, and spreading anti-Semitism because they're part of like this. I forget, I should know this, but I forget the term, but there's sort of like a unifying factor between China, Iran, and
Sure.
and Russia, and that whole thing.
Right, right.
And so not only taking data, which you're right, I think it's kind of available everywhere. It's kind of hard to stop that, but also influencing. You see, use the word influencer, but in a different way.
Sure. Not that kind of influencer.
Yeah,
I don't know which is
communist.
worse.
So I don't know if it's going on or not, but if it is, I get it, and I think that's
Yeah, no,
lame, but
that's
it's still heartbreaking for those who
sure.
have built a following.
Sure. And that is something that I think about a lot, like having and I'm sure you do too with your daughter. And for me having such young nieces and nephews and just seeing like the world that they are growing up in and the influence of technology, like that they use the iPad. Like, I don't know, my 6-year-old niece is probably better with the iPad than I am at some things. Like, it's almost this innate, like they're drawn to like our phones, and they're always trying to take your phone and watch YouTube and play games. And it is alarming when you think about such young minds, like still forming. And that is scary, the idea of China or whatever, malicious party trying to come in there and influence them. You could see that like actually being an issue. But then it also makes you wonder, I mean, all these other platforms too, like maybe we should be taking a good look at all of them, and really how safe are the other ones.
Yeah, no, I think they all got problems, right?
Right.
They all got problems and probably doing bad things, and they're all very beneficial in other ways.
Sure.
So it's hard to keep it all straight for sure. It's I joke, and maybe it's not that funny, but with parenting, it's like I go, look, I'm gonna do the best I can. Whatever I mess up, it'll build character for her. But it's kind of like I can't stop everything kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, but I do wonder about it, like with the videos. She watches a Russian video called Masha and the Bear. And we joke saying it's the commie cartoon. But it seems like innocent, and it's actually pretty good. But I do wonder, I'm like, hey, are there hidden messages in this to make her more sympathetic towards communism?
Right. I know. Well, I don't know if you've heard the conspiracy theories about Disney. Like, people have sent me things that they're like subliminal messages in old Disney cartoons. And I mean, some of this stuff, like when you go down the rabbit hole, you're like, huh. It does make you think, and I think it is good to have a critical view of some of this stuff, but some of it also just sounds like completely crazy. So
yeah, I think you're on the nose though. Be critical, but I mean,
it's easy to get carried away.
It's a never-ending rabbit hole that is best not to get sucked into. And so I guess fight the battles where you feel the compulsion to fight.
Sure.
I think that's how I look at it, to save myself from getting too crazy. I
know. I mean, really, you could drive yourself nuts with all of this. I mean, and I really like, bringing in our metal aspect, the band Slaughter to Prevail. Like, I like their music and their look, and I think they're cool. But then as I learned more about them, they're Russian, and which, all right, that's cool. But then again, I'm like kind of out of touch with a lot of the news on this stuff. But I do know the singer had said some things that were controversial and sexist. And I just thought of them actually when you brought up the bear, or Masha and the Bear, because they have a video where he's like wrestling a bear. Yeah. I mean, on the surface, if I just listen, purely to the music and just take it for what it is, I enjoy it. And I don't know, like, and a lot of their songs are in Russian. So who knows, maybe I'm singing along in Russian to like Hail Putin.
Well, at least you're learning Russian. No, yeah. I don't know what to do with that. I still haven't come to a conclusion about some of those things. I mean, like Michael Jackson. I mean,
true. Yeah.
Some people like stop listening to his music and stuff, and I think I'm on the side, but I don't know if I'm right or if there's a right answer. But the art stands on its own, I think.
Sure, I agree with you.
You know, and I didn't stop listening to Michael Jackson.
I know. I don't even think we could if we wanted to, because like, you know, you'll be at the doctor's office or the grocery store. Like, but it's good. It's like I was actually just playing one of his songs earlier. He just has like, God, he was a great performer. But I mean, from that perspective too, I'm like, you know, and you look at politicians and actors, musicians, like I think you almost have to separate the work just to not go crazy, because then you wouldn't be able to enjoy much of anything, you know, because it's just, especially nowadays, you're always like hearing something horrible about somebody.
Can I get real deep on in this conversation real quick?
Mm-hmm.
I think life is about becoming who you're supposed to become, or like a version of some core things that you have inside you, and it could lead maybe different paths here and there, but as long as you're becoming that core person you're meant to become. And if there's things outside of that, outside of your maybe core or your purpose, then that's okay. But there'll probably be things that are related to that person you're supposed to become, that needs to maybe fight certain battles that you were built to fight. And I think that's kind of the way to look at it. Otherwise, it's just too overwhelming. And so
I like that perspective. I mean, we're all like, first of all, nobody's perfect. And I know that unfortunately is used to like excuse some really bad behavior, you know, when people say that. But it is true that nobody's perfect. And I think that, you know, especially in the age where everything is like, you almost always have to assume like you're on camera in some form or potentially being recorded. Like that I mean, I am so glad that I grew up, especially as a teenager and, you know, being in my 20s. And at that point, sure, we had social media, but things weren't the way they are now. And not everything was, this was even before, before smartphones. So the flip phones didn't have good cameras. Just thinking about, you know, being like a teenager and, you know, going out drinking and doing stupid stuff. I'm like, thank God, like the next day, like there weren't like a bunch of pictures of it online or, and then it's on there forever, you know? So it's like your whole life essentially could be picked apart and scrutinized. And it's like, we have to make mistakes. That's like the only way you grow.
Yeah, I wonder if it has anything to do with they say kids just they're just not like us these days, in terms of like they don't drink as much as we did.
I have heard that. Yeah.
And I wonder if that has anything to do with it, or if it's just something they somehow got morals. Right. Better morals.
Yeah, they're better than us. Yeah, I have heard that. It's interesting, although a lot of the younger friends that I have, they're like they're really, really into weed. So, or, you know, psychedelics, which, I mean, and that's a whole other like interesting conversation, but it's like, I think, I don't know. It's like we all have to have our vices, right? But yeah, I have noticed that, and I've certainly read and, you know, heard that the trend is like that young people aren't drinking as much.
Hey, a bunch of you guys are watching the videos, but you're not subscribing. Please hit like and subscribe and help us break out this channel in 2025. And you'll get authenticity, you'll get dignity in the discourse, you'll get inspiration from those who overcame massive challenges to be successful where they are. More heavy metal, more politics in the radical middle, and more great content coming your way. But you gotta subscribe. Help break us out. Talk to you soon.
This might not be a perfect segue, but modeling Do you when you do modeling? I'd like to hear kind of like how you got into it and what you've been doing lately. But I think there is a reputation for the modeling industry and drugs and stuff like that, or is that totally 1980s or something where I'm getting that from?
I feel like that is more like I've noticed that more in the music industry, which is for sure the stereotype with that. I mean, and also I've never modeled full time, or done it like particularly seriously. So I would say like I haven't been in a lot of scenarios where I've seen that.
Yeah.
But and that whole industry has changed so much. I mean, and you look at now, like everybody can be a model, and you have all these quote unquote Instagram models.
Oh,
and the weird thing too about even the legit big agencies now have changed how they operate. Like if you like submit, for consideration, you have to include your like Instagram and social media handles, and then tell them how many followers you have, because I've been told that if you have over a certain amount of followers, they automatically sign you. I guess from that viewpoint, they see you'll be able to sell things and make money, and you have a big audience. So I guess that makes sense. It's odd that the criteria has changed so much too.
I'm not going to send my application now because I'm just
buy like 1 million followers first.
Yeah, you can buy them. You can buy them now. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure how much you did it. I know you've been on TV, and I see you at the what's the one where you're carrying your soulmate, your dog?
Yes, that's a really fun show. Anthony Rubio is the designer, and they do New York Fashion Week every year in the fall and the spring, and that's in fact one of the few shows that I still participate in. I've kind of gotten away from the modeling stuff and focus more on music these days, but for various reasons. But the Anthony Rubio shows with the dogs, they're just fun. They make you smile. There's the mentality there too. I mean, a dog in a dress, like you have to smile and laugh. Whereas like some of these other shows, via some of the other shows, I got away from it because I just didn't enjoy it either. So like people are cutthroat and mean and very, very like critical. It's
take the joy out of it.
Yes, exactly. And even that brief, for the time that I did do it, it's because you get this brief rush, when you walk out on the runway. Like it's cool, it's fun, but what you go through prior to that, it's pretty wild. And the stereotypes and what you do hear about creeps, a lot of creeps and people trying to exploit, their position in that industry. That's very true. And there have been like some younger girls who have approached me over the years and asked about getting into it, and I always am. I just make it very clear though to like to be careful about it, and just to view things again with that critical or skeptical mindset, because especially because it's something that feels like really obviously is exciting and you want to do. It's almost like with catfishing, like you see this really attractive person, so you like want to believe that it's true, and then maybe some of these people that it happens with, you're more likely to overlook things because you just like want to believe it's true. And some of these like modeling agencies, they're like, oh yeah, we've discovered you, we're gonna sign you, but then but you just have to pay this like $3,000 fee for,
Yeah.
you know, our classes or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's a nice warning, maybe too strong of a word, but anyone watching that's looking into it, be on the lookout and be careful.
Yeah. And I hate to sound, you know, jaded and negative, but and because there are plenty of like I've met some wonderful people, really talented, you know, photographers, artists, designers, and even friends, you know, who were made friends with some of the other models. But I think it's good to have, and I've seen some of especially the girls who are a little younger, that have a parent with them, and even if it's not a parent coming with you, you know, some of the girls will bring like their boyfriend, or I think that's always a good idea, and it's definitely a red flag if a place doesn't allow that. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I guess, you know, I always just say, and I'm always willing to, you know, give advice and input and encourage people if they really want it, but just to kind of give that caveat too, you know, just that there is like a darker side in that whole industry.
For some reason, I never really thought about it, but that makes sense that there'd be some predatory behavior.
Exactly.
Preying on
now,
those vulnerable or think they want something so bad they may overlook it. I think that's
exactly.
A good insight.
Yes.
Let's talk about more fun stuff, the band stuff.
Right.
You definitely look like you're having a great time. I want to say you're in a couple bands. Are you in like a tribute, not a tribute band, but a cover band, but also some original music?
Yeah, and you know, it's been a volatile thing. Like at one point I was in 3 bands, now I'm in 1 band, and this particular band, I really enjoy playing with them, and they're really talented people. But unfortunately, like they're so busy that we only play out maybe a few times a year. We only really get together a few times a year. You know, everybody is in like 3 other bands, and you know, and then 2 of the guys are professional musicians, and so they have, and then some, and unfortunately, because it's original music, we're not really making money off this. So, you know, the other gigs have to come first, but that band is called Fatally Yours.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. There's a lot of talent in that band.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like, it's just fun to play with. You know, I love the music. That's fun to play, and playing with the other guys. It's definitely, it's a thrill for me. But yeah, we were supposed to record some new stuff last year, but that just kind of got pushed to the back burner. The guitar player actually lives in LA. He would, for like our first show, he flew back in June, because this is like basically a new lineup. It was a reunion show. The band had not been active for years. And so, yeah, this is like the new version of the band. I think it's just been hard for everybody to coordinate, you know. We try to play out like every few months.
And you're not playing with any of the other bands right now?
Not right now. A lot of those situations like crashed and burned. Like, it's just, unfortunately, it's really like, you know, musicians, as you know, tend to creative types. You know, you get all types of backgrounds and just I guess issues that people are bringing to the table, and lifestyles. So
I hear you.
Yeah,
you gotta start your own band, Maureen.
Oh, I've been trying for years.
Yeah. You know, I'm really, I don't know if this is helpful at all. I'm really inspired by the Atlanta scene. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of my videos are of bands down there. I think it started because Mastodon's from there, and as you know, I'm like a rabid fanatic.
I know I would love to get a Troy Sanders bass. Like he has a
yeah,
model that is just like badass.
yeah, I just love them. But I think through that has led me to kind of explore Atlanta more. Sounds creepy when I say it out loud, but but I gotten to know like a bunch of bands down there. I'm going down there next month to see a bunch of them play at a show. I think I probably could go on and on about this. This is your show, not mine. But I think it's just so cool how all those guys, it's all interconnected and they all rely on each other, whether it's artwork, whether it's pickles.
I'm glad you told me about this because, you know, we talk about the metal community, and I miss that because I feel like while there is still one, it's just, you know, again, the theme of the show from earlier, this kind of loss of human connection and community. You know, I have felt that in the music scene. So especially as far as like new music, that's the other thing I'm always like, you know, harping on about is, you know, I can't find any new bands that I love. You know, it's like sometimes I'll hear some man like, but it sounds kind of I don't know, it just doesn't really get me the way that you know, some of my favorite bands did. And then you start to think, well, is it just because, you know, I'm old now and I can't get inspired? But then, you know, there is like that occasional time that you'll hear a new band that you can really get excited about, and I just love that. And you know, I love that there's this scene that's fostering that.
Yeah, you got to move to Atlanta, Maureen.
I might, because it's also like way too cold here.
It's funny, they just got snow for the first time I think in maybe years.
Wow.
But you know, for the most part, it's pretty warm down there.
Exactly. I always, every winter, I threaten to move. Actually, my first band was based in Dallas, and I almost moved there. We were actually on Dave Ellison's label, coincidentally.
Oh, really?
This was this? I guess this was after boot camp, but so yeah, it was just a really weird coincidence that like it wasn't like through any of the Megadeth people that I met them. But we were called a Tri-County Terror. So it was an all-female punk band. It was so much fun. They were like such incredible musicians. They had been around like before I joined. You know, I was a new member that came in. But anyway, I was disappointed when the band fell apart. I mean, not just because I love the band, but also because Dallas was cool, and Dallas had a cool local metal scene. Like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a surprise. I don't know if they still do. This was, you know, pre-COVID and all of that, but anyway, Dallas. Yeah, I've always like entertained the idea of moving somewhere warmer, just because I hate the cold.
Yeah, I didn't know about the music scene there, but I love Texas in general, which I know is big. But I love Dallas when I've been there, and Austin is awesome.
Yeah, I've never been to Austin, but I keep.
Oh, really? That surprises me.
I know, because people keep saying you would love Austin, you have to go, and I want to go. One of these days, I'll make it.
Yeah, I think there it would probably be. You can't freaking sneeze without hitting a new band.
Sure. Although I have heard people grumbling about how I think a lot of the LA crowd and is moving out there and like ruining everything.
Doesn't LA ruin every place? They ruin Seattle and they ruin Austin.
Yeah, a lot of them are moving to Vegas too, and Nashville.
Check out the Atlanta scene.
I definitely will. I'm going to watch the shows you have about it too. That's really cool. Sounds like we all have to move to Atlanta.
No, I love it. I mean, it's a weird thing too. It's sort of like rampant with it's very boozy and very druggy. Um, but I say that with a caveat. It's weird because I was surprised to interview a lot of these guys and they don't drink. I think they do the California sober thing.
Yeah.
Which but I was encouraged by that because I kind of go back and forth. I'm either drinking or I'm not drinking. But surprised again, maybe it's that youth thing where alcohol is just not as cool as it was for us when we were younger. I don't know.
Right.
You made the point too. It was more weedy.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, so there is a dark side to it, but maybe you can't have the light without the dark, right? And
sure.
So,
that is very true.
Yeah. So maybe it's a good little balance there. And if you want to go dark, baby.
Sometimes you gotta just go to the dark side for a little bit.
If you want to stay light, stay light. You'll still have companionship there. I'm wondering because I'm trying to go the distance with not drinking, and that party is going to be a big challenge.
Yeah. How long has it been for you being?
Let's see, late December. I didn't do it January 1st. I did like late, right before January 1st. My thing typically, I love to drink, and I don't have anything against it. And it's fun, but then at a certain point, it gets very boring for me.
Sure.
And I also notice myself drinking more and more, as I think you tend to do, and then I stop. And I normally stop for like a couple months, or sometimes as long as 3 months or something. I think this year, I guess I'll say it publicly, I'm trying to go the whole year and just focus. I want to focus on this channel and try to get it booming. And
you put it out there, so now people.
I know now it's out there. Some people tell you, hey, keep your goals to yourself. It's like that stoicism thing, and then other people say, no, be public about it, so then you don't want to mess it up.
Right. So then I can fail in public. No, I I think that's awesome, and I feel the same way as you do. Like I enjoy drinking, but I definitely go through phases with it where I'm like I'm drinking more than I want to, or but saying, when you were saying this party is going to be a challenge, that's the thing. Like if I'm taking a break from drinking or, trying to drink less, I'm less social because so many social situations like revolve around alcohol. And sure, I can still like go and not drink, but then, it's just the whole, that's a whole, like, I'm sure we could talk a lot about, alcohol and our society and how that all relates. But something that I was intrigued by, my best friend, who I actually met at a Slayer concert like 8 years ago, she every year we do this little weekend away in Alexandria, and normally we would have like a bottle of wine in the hotel room and hang out and talk, and she brought these like mocktails.
Oh yeah,
they were actually, at first I was like, all right. It was actually like really good, and I just enjoyed the drink. And I think some of it, because both of us drink and like to drink, but we also want to be healthy and mindful. And it was almost just like the act of having this mixed drink that has like, and she even put like salt on the rim. And I really like it, kind of like scratched that itch. Like I felt like, like I didn't even, it makes you think too about like how much of it is the alcohol and how much of it sometimes just, even when you're in a social setting, like having something to do and like,
Yeah, well, it's scary, especially if you're used to going out and drinking and having fun with your friends. I think it's a little bit maybe uncomfortable to not do it at times.
Sure.
But I think I've noticed from maybe I'm getting a little bit more mature finally, where I do notice if I really am an oak and I don't succumb to it, I have noticed enough times that I have more fun.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and I'm like, it took time, but I'm able to loosen up naturally, which
Yeah.
is like really kind of fun to figure that out, how to do that.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because that kind of inspires me to mess with that idea more. Because a lot of it is, you think like, oh, I'm not going to have a good time, you know, if I'm the only sober person. And how am I going to be, even like being in some of these crowded settings? I'm like, am I just going to have anxiety or be annoyed? But, you know, looking at it from that perspective, like maybe it would actually even be more fun, and at least in some ways, or, you know, like just different, I'm sure, but not in a bad way.
And you know, the next day you feel fine. You're like,
You don't feel like
what are you
shit.
doing
Yeah.
today?
Right.
Everybody else is like, I'm too hungover.
Right. You know, and that is something that's another aspect of it that I hate, like, because the day is wasted, or at least
Yeah.
half the day. And sure, I love to like lay around and just watch Netflix, like, but sometimes I'm like, you know, and even just to wake up and not feel like crap, and still, you know, be able to have had a night out, like, because normally there is like that sacrifice of you're not going to feel great the next day.
Yeah, I say all this. I mean, if I go there and Brent Hines is there and he wants to do a shot,
I
how
mean,
am I
you
going to
have,
say no?
if Brent Hines offers you a shot, you have to do it.
I told that to Anna. I was like, yeah, I think that's the only way I'll cave, because I don't
But
know how I could not do that.
I know that's a tough one. But maybe, I don't know, maybe you could like smoke a joint instead with him, or
Throw
something.
it over my shoulder instead of drinking it.
Do that old trick.
That was good. Well, I can't. No smoking, not with my job.
Oh, right.
Maybe after. Maybe if I take a new job that doesn't require a clearance, but I can't mess with that, unfortunately. But
Right.
Drinking, yeah, that's totally fine. It's so weird too, right? I mean, drinking's fine, but smoking weed's not.
Yes. And to think that we used to lock people up for smoking weed.
Yeah. Yeah, these things are screwy. Maybe
Yeah.
Trump will change that. Maybe that'll be the next executive order, Maureen.
I can't wait, because it's like, I swear, I wake up and I look at my phone and the news alerts, and I'm just like, what's coming today? It's like, just what wild like news headline.
Oh, it's going to be a crazy 4 years. There'll be lots to talk about, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, Maureen, I feel like you've been very generous with your time.
Oh,
We've had a
well,
nice...
yeah, it's been great to talk to you, and to Anna. I feel like, you know, I feel like we're just catching up anyway, you know, like, it doesn't even feel like but like a show. It's just, yeah. And I mean, we could certainly talk about, there are so many other things we could go on about. So,
well, I hope you come back on someday.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'd love to have you. Yeah, maybe we can hang out soon. Let us know about High Fade. High Fade, like, that's another one. I think, you know, like the not drinking, they're so funky, and I'll listen to them on YouTube, and you just can't help but move.
Yeah.
And that just sounds like so much fun. Like, just to have music impact you in such a way where you can't sit still. Who needs drinking, right?
It's true. And I mean, there, especially if you're seeing a band that you really love, it's like, I want to like really enjoy that and experience that, you know, because there have definitely been concerts that I've been to and when I've been really excited for it, but then if you're pre-gaming or you're drinking, it's like, damn, I don't even remember that song when they did that one. And
Oh yeah.
And I will say, especially when you said they were a funk band, I was like, that's awesome. I've gotten more, I think just with playing bass on my own, I've like gotten more into some other genres, and they're just fun, you know,
Yeah.
like a funk band, like you said, you just like, you can't help but like get into it.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be your homework. Check out, if you haven't already, High Fade. And then check out Yosemite in Black, Cold Shoulder.
Okay.
And if you're into it, there's some interviews with a bunch of those guys.
Yeah.
A bunch of bands down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm shamelessly plugging myself, the show.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to check that out.
Cool, Maureen. Well, hey, thanks for giving us so much time, and I hope you have a great day. I really had a lot of fun talking to you.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me on. I was excited when you asked me, and I haven't done anything like this, so yeah. But yeah, definitely we will, like, it was great to catch up too, and we'll
absolutely. Yeah, thanks so much. I'm so glad you got back to me. I was a little worried there for a minute. I'm like, oh, maybe she doesn't want to come on.
No, I know. I felt, and that was, of course, one of those nights where I'm, I was actually with my best friend, and then I was gonna come home and get to bed, and then of course ended up drinking.
No, I was thinking, oh man, maybe she had partied last night and just doesn't want to do it, which I totally would have after I wrote the email saying 3 p.m. is good. I was talking to Ann. I'm like, maybe I should have just said later in the week in case she didn't really want to do it today. But no, I'm really glad you did. You didn't seem hungover at all or anything. You seem great.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I know, and I really don't feel well. I think I feel pretty good because it wasn't even so much that I was that drunk. We stayed up late, and then I'm just like, oh man. But I slept pretty late, so I feel pretty good now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you came on.
Yeah, me too.
I'll keep you posted on. We got one in the queue. That's Chaz came out for last Friday. Then next Friday we'll have another.
Yeah, I saw I watched that one with him. I think that was last Friday. That was cool.
We could have talked forever too.
Oh yeah.
We loved chatting. So I'm not sure exactly when this is going to come out. It might be a few weeks because I think my editor is having a different interview with someone. I don't know. I just don't know yet, but I'll keep you posted, and we'll send you the rough cuts in case you want to check them out.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, hey, thanks, Maureen. I'll talk to you soon. We'll keep in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Jesse. Talk to you soon.
All right, later.
Bye.